Tell me if you've lived this exact scenario. You're sitting around a table with friends or coworkers, and someone rolls up their sleeve to reveal their fresh, intricately designed new ink. The whole room leans in, marveling at the line work, dissecting the profound meaning behind a geometric wolf or a minimalist quote. And then, inevitably, the spotlight swings to you. Someone glances at your completely untouched arms and asks that familiar, slightly patronizing question, "So, when are you finally getting yours?" You probably just offer a polite, tight-lipped smile and a vague shrug, but in that split second, you feel the unspoken judgment. In a hyper-expressive culture where our skin is treated like a walking billboard meant to prove we actually have a personality, remaining completely blank makes people assume you're either terrified of needles, pathologically indecisive, or just boring. But take a deep breath, because here's the twist. Your unmarked skin isn't a symptom of fear or a lack of depth. It is actually the quiet fingerprint of a highly complex, surprisingly advanced psychological profile. Let's decode exactly what your brain is doing.
The outside world, refusing to commit to a permanent piece of body art, looks like a classic case of playing it safe. They think you're paralyzed by what-ifs, or that you suffer from some deep-seated fear of commitment. But neurologically speaking, something entirely different is happening. You aren't avoiding a tattoo because you don't know who you are today. You are avoiding it because you are acutely aware of who you might become tomorrow. Psychologists refer to this cognitive mechanism as future self-continuity. It is the brain's ability to seamlessly connect your present identity with your distant future self. Many people operate with a relatively low future self-continuity. They make permanent, localized decisions based on the intense, fleeting passions of the present moment. They assume the 25-year-old who desperately needs a specific philosophical quote etched into their forearm is the exact same person the 55-year-old will be. But your brain operates on a higher spectrum of what researchers call temporal discounting awareness. You possess a rare, almost hyper-vigilant cognitive ability to mentally time travel. You don't just anticipate future consequences, you vividly simulate future regret before it has a chance to materialize. This isn't indecisiveness, it is an advanced, evolutionary form of future-focused thinking.
Let's get to the actual paradigm shift. Some of the most deeply fascinating people walking the earth right now don't have a single drop of ink on them. Why? Because they operate on a psychological framework called fluid identity orientation. They view their identity not as a finished marble sculpture, but as a constantly updating operating system. To you, getting a tattoo feels like taking a screenshot of your current emotional state and being forced to use it as your permanent mental wallpaper for the next 40 years. By keeping your skin blank, you are actively avoiding something psychologists call identity foreclosure, the trap of locking yourself into one rigid version of who you are. You want the absolute freedom to completely change your mind, your aesthetics, and your worldview without your own biology holding you hostage to a 2018 version of yourself. And this leads us to the most beautiful paradox of all. We live in an exhausting, hyper-performative era where everything has to be branded. Your coffee cup, your bumper, your social media bio, and yes, your skin. Modern culture loudly insists that if you don't wear your trauma, your passions, or your philosophies on your sleeve, literally, they must not be real. But you possess what researchers call an intrinsic identity orientation. You are the psychological equivalent of quiet luxury. You don't need a quote from a dead philosopher permanently stamped on your ribcage to prove you have depth. You don't need a minimalist compass on your ankle to validate your love for travel. You don't require external mediums to prove your internal reality. In a world desperately shouting, "Look at me, this is who I am," choosing to remain a completely blank canvas is its own brilliant form of rebellion. It silently says, "I know exactly who I am, and I don't need to draw you a map." But here is where things get truly wild. Wake up your brain for a second, because this explains so much about how you operate compared to everyone else. In psychology, there's a fascinating cognitive bias known as the end of history illusion. A massive study out of Harvard proved that human beings are fundamentally terrible at predicting how much they will change in the future. At any given point in our lives, we falsely believe that we have finally reached our peak evolution. The 25-year-old thinks they are the finished product, and the 40-year-old thinks they are the finished product. People who cover themselves with tattoos are completely falling for this illusion. They are making permanent aesthetic and philosophical choices based on a software version of their ego that is statistically destined to become obsolete. But your brain naturally rejects the end of history illusion. Think about a genius of reinvention like David Bowie, or an endlessly evolving thinker like Virginia Woolf. Their entire brilliance relied on their ability to constantly shatter their old identities. If they had permanently cemented their 20-year-old philosophies onto their biology, it would have just been a monument to a ghost. You intuitively understand that you are not a finished house. You are an active construction site. You refuse to sign a permanent contract with your current self because you have enough psychological humility to admit that the person you will be in 10 years might completely disagree with the person you are today. But navigating this hyper-visual world with unmarked skin comes with a very specific kind of exhaustion. We live in an era where everyone is trying to be a walking infographic. If you don't literally wear your personality on your sleeve, people just assume you're an NPC, a blank background character in your own life with zero backstory. This is where your hidden superpower kicks in. Academics call it impression management, but let's call it what it really is: being a strategic mastermind. Think about it. A tattoo is essentially a spoiler alert for your personality. It walks into the room before you do. It hands a first date, a hiring manager, or a random stranger a lazy shortcut to judge you. Oh, a geometric owl on the forearm? I know exactly what this person's deal is. Society tries to guilt trip you by calling your blank skin anxiety or caring too much about what people think. Nonsense. This is high-level social intelligence. You are actively refusing to give up control of your own narrative. You want people to actually do the work of figuring you out through your dark humor, your intellect, and your layered conversations. You refuse to be summarized by a static image. You are the entire book, not the back cover synopsis. So here is the ultimate truth. Your unmarked skin isn't a lack of courage, it is the ultimate commitment to your own evolution. It is a conscious, brilliant refusal to let a past version of you hold your future hostage. You don't need ink to make your memories real, and you don't need a needle to prove that you possess depth. In a world obsessed with loud, permanent declarations and treating the body like a billboard, remaining a completely blank canvas is the quietest, most powerful flex there is. You aren't empty, you are just proudly unwritten. If this video felt like someone finally stepped inside your head and translated your silence, then welcome home. You found your tribe. Hit that subscribe button. We decode the hidden brilliance behind the traits society misunderstands every single week. Stay adaptable, stay deep, and I'll see you in the next one.